Jeff, do you have to correspond the circling with each recitation of the numbers?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Do you
Yeah.
circle how many times? Just once for each thing?
Once for each saying.
Jeff, what is Sakara?
Sakara is what Kathleen defines as a very silver ray energy. And in my time with her, we were discussing Reiki's insufficiency in higher level frequencies of energy. What I mean by that is, Reiki systems seem to have left out a large portion of silver ray, really high level spiritual energy from it. I mean, I haven't really found an attunement process yet that passes it on really. And that you can do the violet breath thing where you go, you know, white, blue, violet, gold, silver, but that, not even that does it. The only way that I can tell it really attuned to it seems to be at a distance. And we'll get to that a little bit more, maybe later today, probably tomorrow.
When you're mentioning that, I was doing a healing a few months ago on a woman whose son was observing, and he saw two angelic presences, he says, but holding in their hands was a silver sphere.
That's cool.
Which he then attributed to a higher level of vibrational quality. So when you bring that in, I thought it was a really interesting vision that he had. And that he definitely attributed that silver ray or energy to some other presence.
So maybe you can just call for it.
Maybe so.
Yeah, you can. You can call for me.
Well, is it supposed to be something above and beyond the 12 rays?
I don't really know
Or is
what
it a
she means
blend of-
by it. But we reached an understanding that it was equitable to what I call silver ray Reiki, or the expanded Tibetan Reiki of Irving first, because that was Irving's real crusade. But we'll get to him in a few minutes here. Step ahead. The next page, I had information and ideas from other sources, a bunch of 3-minute miracles here and there. Let's move on to our Mastership handout. I'm not going to touch on the initiations probably until tomorrow. So we'll skip to a few pages here. Up until the symbol. First symbol, Daikomyo, her version of Daikomyo. She considers this possibly the most traditional Daikomyo available. That one's the best seats in the house.
These are not to me, this is.
Okay. Okay, so this is the Daikomyo that she uses. Now, the Daikomyo that I use for the normal attunement procedures, and as well as the Tibetan Daikomyo and the Serpent of Fire and all that, I also use during healing. I trace them out in this order. Tibetan Daikomyo, Serpent of Fire, Usui-Daikomyo, Choku-Rei, Seiki, Hanshade, Shonin, before I do a healing. She advises not to do that with this Daikomyo. She doesn't, or with any Daikomyo actually, but specifically with hers. She believes that this is just for initiatory purposes, and so I respect that, and I urge you to respect that as well. I don't really know one way or the other, but the last thing I want to do is try it out and end up having some psychic train wreck on my hands to spend the rest of the week repairing. So, a little encouragement to you. She thinks that in the course of what she's run across with the Alliance people, she says that she's hit upon two different sets of people, one having this version of the Daikomyo, and the other one having one which is very similar to it, just a little more fluid and pretty. The next page contains on it the third and final symbol of the Sai Baba system, which interestingly is at difference with what William Rand said in his materials, where he said that there were 4 additional Sai Baba symbols. This is the lady that created the thing, and there were 3. This is Halu. Notice that it has Zonar at the bottom of it, essentially. And a couple of additional things. Well, here's how it's traced. This is the first. 1, 2, 3. Zonar, Zonar, Zonar. It's okay to say that, despite the fact that you're doing the symbol Halu. Okay. Halu, Halu, Halu. Do it this way now. 1, 2, 3. Zonar, Zonar, Zonar. And this is my personal thing, but I've taken to, first of all, I've experimented with drawing these lines and seeing if like 5 and 6 matter, if they're in that order, then they don't really matter. And also, 7, 8, and 9, I usually say Halu, Halu, Halu as I'm doing that. And then she just did it, so I can pick it up and start doing it. And can everybody see that okay?
Try once more if you would. Please.
3. Zonar, Zonar, Zonar. Halu, Halu, Halu.
Albert, I'm sorry, I'm being nuts, I guess, but 5 and 6 come in where?
5 and 6.
You do 1, 2, 3, then the 4,
Mm-hmm.
and then 5
And 5.
meets there, 6, and then you go back to that point and do 7, 8.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the seeming line up to the infinity sign is just an indication. Yeah.
Unless you're in Chicago.
Wherever it is, true.
Okay. She draws as, I'm not sure if she did. Yeah, she does. She draws an equivalent to dunce caps. Over people's heads, sort of, with this symbol. And I thought about it, and cones accumulate energy really well, better than pyramids even. So why not? Why wouldn't that have been an actual decent metaphysical principle in action, despite the fact that kids would shame it in the corner?
Merlin used the comb.
Yeah, we could call those.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we could call those magician hats.
Right.
Or Merlin hats.
That's true. That's true. I guess it's just a negative thing that she used the word dunce. Essentially, as you read her copy, Zonar is brought up or amplified in power by closing the Z. So that was 5 and 6, which I find very interesting because if you can amplify and bring up the power of Zonar by closing the Z, then why not make that a symbol in and of itself, to kind of enhance the Zonar energy. Tall pyramids or cones help to amplify mental energy and or correct imbalances. Dunce caps that were put on slow learners actually help them. It was a negative connotation that went along with wearing one that was detrimental to self-esteem and often negated the positive effects of learning. Love, truth, beauty, harmony, deep healing, balance, all of that. This is a really cool symbol. This symbol has a really, really neat energy to it. All 3 of the Sai Baba symbols really do. She said that as people have passed through her doors and she's retrained them, that she winds up having found traces of these symbols with other people. And she thinks that Furumoto has all 3 and spottedly teaches them, and that Takata did the same thing, and a few other people did it.
At closing 5 and 6, you're actually breaking that into 2 directions, or just one direction?
Going over it twice,
5 and 6, just you got arrows pointing towards each other.
5 and 6 are just 2 half lines. 1, 2.
Oh, and then you just go back.
When you look at the traditional Usui symbols, you use them in certain places like Seiheki, let's say you do it over the crown for mental clearing. Is there a particular place on a treatment that you'd want to draw these, or how would you integrate that in a treatment?
That's another kind of small dogmatic niche that you only find a few places. Is the Seiheki sound treatment, or crown treatment. Most places I can't say that there isn't most places for Seiheki. There's a whole litany of methods out there involving it. A lot of people won't use Seiheki because they're afraid to. And we'll blast into that shortly. So let me put that on hold. But click. But no, there is no specific place.
So just intuitively when you felt the need, or?
I usually just trace them all out over the entire person ahead of time.
Okay.
Quite actually. I mean, it's all metaphorical. I'm just trying out loud.
Well, it's like anything too. I mean, I know that I learned the symbols in a specific way, but then you intuitively, once you become more attuned to the energy, you begin to use it as you intuitively feel. And with these, I mean, it's just some sort of a starting point, a reference point to.
Exactly. So this is the thing that I really liked about Kathleen, was that she sort of had this dual bent to her. She had this one side of her that was this real will healing type of touch the shoulder, do this. But she didn't really incorporate that into her Reiki stuff so much, you know. She associated with, you know, she demonstrated with Reiki because she considered it all healing and all that. But when it comes time for the Reiki stuff, she leaves it all pretty wide open. And that's why, you know, it's another one of those sort of Arthur Robertson phenomenon things where, you know, people have come along and he's done so much cool stuff that, you know, I mean, you read through that manual, you can't even, you know, if you can understand 60% of it, you know, I mean, I'm questioning, you know, where you went to school at. I mean, you know, you've got some good education behind you in terms of like molecular science, you know, and most people can't, so they invent all of this other stuff to go with it, or they take their best guess, or they, you know, they go off on these intuitive directions. And the same thing has happened, and I think is happening with Kathleen Milner as I've traveled around. She's got a fairly new system here. I mean, this is fairly new, you know, and yet it's growing fairly large, and it's getting, you know, she's experiencing some exponential growth. And, you know, one rung removed, symbols are different, the attunement processes are different. You know, 3-4 rungs removed, I mean, it's got so much stuff tacked onto it. One person removed, I mean, everybody adds their own thing. She sketched such broad strokes and intended it to. You know, I think she's very knowledgeable, and you know, certainly recognizes the fact that the vaguer you leave it, you know, the more potential there is for the person to be healed by the system, first of all. And so she sketched these very broad strokes that people are coming in and trying to fill, you know, which is really pretty weird, pretty strange. Okay, the yod underneath it is something that she does with her Egyptian cartouche things. This is the first initiation into her Egyptian cartouche stuff. So, the next page after that details what she puts where. It's just a nice summary. Remember I said that she uses Rama in the feet, despite the fact that it's not a... She has a variation. She comes through Arthur Robertson's line. And she has a variation of that attunement procedure in that ordinarily in some of these places you trace a Hansha Zeishonin down the spine or something like that, and instead she's replaced it with like a Halu or just a newer symbol, you know, with a different symbol. The real gem in her attunement procedure lies in that golden breath thing. Then after that is the Sanskrit Om, and this will take on significance for you when you get into the attunement process. Now this water ceremony that is in here. This is part of what's become, oh, and also the lineage is in the bottom here, so you can kind of add my name to the bottom of it and then your name underneath that if anybody cares. You'll find like lineage is scattered throughout the material that you have in your hands and everything that was collected. This water ceremony is one of the principal things, one of kind of the founding members of the Jo-Rei attunement procedures and some of the weirder, flakier attunement procedures. I mean, this has sort of become an attunement in some expanded versions of this and some slightly varied versions of this, but it's sort of become this icon attunement procedure in and of itself, which is ludicrous because it's nothing like that, nothing like an attunement procedure. And so here you get the fact that you're charging the thing, blah blah blah. You'll notice some of the stuff that I have up here laid out, the various attunement procedures, if you look through them. This is considered a part of it. You know, I mean, they consider this in a lot of cases the attunement procedure. A lot of people there. With the Joe Ray Master stuff, you know, it involves tracing that symbol down the spine, and then the person's called a Reiki master, quote unquote. You know, and you never get a daicomio, never heard of a daicomio. You know, and it's weird what's out there at some of these levels. So I'm trying to dispel some of that. I hope there's no one in this class, or I hope that there is, maybe I should say. The next series of pages deal with additional things. Just other levels of healing. These symbols are only to be used really for planetary level healing, which I haven't done a lot with, to be honest, because I haven't played a lot. We did experiment with them a little while I was with it, but it's not really my bent. I mean, I do have one of those inflatable beach balls with the world printed on it, you know, that have people send energy to after a second degree class, you know, to practice at a distance. And I mean, those are a good idea. I recommend buying the kind without borders so that you're not like charging up countries and stuff, you know, so you're charging the Earth instead, just the Landsat photographs and that size.
I found these to be, I've used them just one of the things that I do.
Oh,
I
good.
found them to be very powerful in the way they're used, and I didn't have any problem also with just in the desk telling how it's done. Just was like focused right in on it when I used it. And my intuitive response was that they were very, very functional. But the day after, you have to be aware that you're dealing with some of this stuff.
I think it's interesting that only to be used, this line, the symbol is only to be used by fully initiated Reiki masters for planetary healing. That's interesting. Also included in her packet are what she teaches in various classes, agendas. The thing that I really like that she includes is blank certificate pages. Because everybody's always wanting to know, where do you get certificates, where do you get certificates, where do you get certificates?